Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right, once again, we are on. I am the Mojo King. He is the great Mike Steph, and we are Hidden Gems Football, brought to you by the mighty 19 Media Group. Welcome to the preview of week number 13. Before we start, I'd like to thank you, yes, you, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite platform. Thank you for being here with us. We survive, we thrive because of you. Please like, subscribe, comment, and most definitely tell a friend or two so 19 Media Group won't cancel us. How are you today, Mike Steph?
I'm doing better. You know, I don't have that. Actually, I still do, but no, I'm doing much better than I was last week. I'm actually doing much better than I was this past Sunday, because last Sunday I was pretty much, I wouldn't say bedridden, but I chose to ride the bed. And yeah, I'm excited for this upcoming week, and I'm excited to be your cult of personality.
Yes, sir, and that you are. All right, Steph, talking about personality, do you have anything to talk about this week as your one big thing?
My one big thing this week is the firing of Carolina Panthers head coach, Frank Reich. For longtime listeners and viewers of Hidden Gems Football this season, I've been skeptical. I was skeptical of the hiring of Frank Reich to begin with, especially due to the phenomenal job that Steve Wilkes did last season in an interim duty. Now, this actually is going on the third coach that's been fired in less than 2 seasons in Carolina. You had Matt Rule, who had, I believe, 2.5 seasons. Then you had Steve Wilkes under the interim title. And then you had Frank Reich, 12 weeks. Interesting stat, which I got from ESPN, so courtesy to them. Do you know that Frank Reich is the first coach in history to get fired in back-to-back seasons? Do you know that Frank Reich is the first coach to get fired in the middle of back-to-back seasons? He did not make, well, I think he made it up to week 10 last year, and he made it up to week 12 this year. Now, to really focus in on Frank Reich might be a little disservice to him, even though I believe he might actually deserve to get fired. But you have to look at the ownership, David Tepper. David Tepper's taken over this organization, and even when it looks like they're steering in the right direction, it seems like he wants to have emphasis in input over his franchise, which, being the owner, yes, he does have, he has that right. But if you don't know what you're really talking about, maybe you should leave it up to the people that you empower, the people that you actually pay to make decisions. For all the slight that Jerry Jones gets for the way he runs, or the way he has run the Cowboys for almost 30 years, for the most part, he's out there as the spokesman, but he does allow the people he put in place, even sometimes to the detriment of the team, i.e. Jason Garrett for all those years. He lets the people that he empowered, where he empowers the people that he's paying to take care of what they need to take care of. I believe this goes back to draft time, where there's been scuttlebutt that Frank Reich actually wanted C.J. Stroud as the number one choice, but David Tepper was more enamored with Bryce Young. Because, yes, I know quarterbacks are, not the end-all be-all, but tell you the truth, in the NFL, they actually are the end-all be-all. You have C.J. Stroud, front runner for Rookie of the Year, and he's leading his surprising Houston Texans team to a 6-5 record. Then you have Bryce Young, albeit with a diminished surrounding supporting cast, 1-10 and struggling. I say all that to say, this next hiring is going to be very important for the Carolina Panthers, because right now I think you're at a tipping point. You're at that borderline of prominent players. It's not like a destination to begin with, but prominent players, if they know the owner is going to be going through coaches like a pair of shoes, they might not want to entrust their career in joining the Carolina franchise. So, that's my abbreviated one big thing. This one big thing brought to you by me.
Yeah, man, I have to say, you did call that right from the jump. Hasn't worked out very well for him.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement podcast. I am Brad Winchester.
And I am Tyler McDowell Blanken. Join us every week on GI, where we talk about what happened in pop culture, our lives, and most importantly, professional wrestling.
All right, first game of Week 13 will be the Thursday night football game. That is the 6-5 Seattle Seahawks facing the 8-3 Dallas Cowboys. The total is expected to be 46.5 points, while the Cowboys are 9-point favorites. That means that Vegas is projecting the score to be Seahawks 18 3/4, Cowboys 27 3/4. As far as injuries go, Kenneth Walker III, the running back, has an oblique strain and did not play last week. He is questionable for this week. Guard Phil Hines is questionable with a toe injury. Tackle Jason Peters is questionable with a shoulder injury. Tough word for me. He left last game and did not return. And defensive end Leonard Williams is also questionable with the ankle injury. On the Dallas side, Rico Dowdle, who scored last week on Thanksgiving, still has the same ankle injury. He didn't see his regular playing time last week, so that's something to keep in mind, even if he does play. On the defensive side, Jaron Kearse did not play last week. He is limited because of a back injury, but the coach says there's a good chance he will return this week. Mike Steph, what do you think about the Thursday night game?
Well, it's still a better offering than we was getting early this season. Seattle is struggling. Dallas is Dallas. Dallas at home. I'll start with Seattle. Seattle, after a 5-2 start, they've lost 3 of the last 4 games, with their lone victory coming against the Washington Commanders. So, and that was a nip and tuck battle, if I do recall. Now, one would think that destruction that they had when they visited the Baltimore Ravens, when they got blown out 37-3, it seems like they haven't recovered since. It's almost like they got exposed for not being as good as their record said they were. Now that also was before the offense got banged up. You still had Metcalf dealing with I think he had a toe injury on and off. And then you had, like you said, you got Kenneth Walker with the oblique. You got Geno with the elbow. They lost this past Thanksgiving night, this past Thursday, against the 49ers 31-13, and it really wasn't that close. Now, I feel like with them not being fully healthy, and especially at the quarterback position, I'm very, very doubtful that they're going to put up a representative showing. Now, when it comes to the Cowboys, same narrative, same script. They're 8-1 now against losing teams, coming off their Thanksgiving Day victory, the Thanksgiving Day massacre against the Commanders. Will they stumble? Now, the question with this game to me is, will they stumble in this game, looking past this game to next week's game against the Philadelphia Eagles? So, getting down to the nitty gritty, coming down to this game, I think there was a stat that you said last week, if I'm not mistaken, that a lot of the Cowboys games, whether positively or negatively, always ended up in like a double-digit spread, except for 1 or 2. And like, as much as I'm afraid to bet the Cowboys consistently with these big spreads, to tell you the truth, they've been covering these big spreads. So, Seattle, with their struggles on offense, Dallas being a juggernaut, especially at home. I believe they're undefeated at home. So I'm leaning toward Dallas covering the spread, believe it or not, because it's no disadvantage for either team, because they're both on full rest, because both of them played last Thursday. So it's not like the normal Thursday night game where both teams or one team is coming off short rest. They're both fully rested, and Dallas is the healthier team. So I'll go Dallas to cover the spread at 9. Of course, Dallas money line. And that over-under, shoot. Last week, it took a pick 6 for them to go over. I'm going to go under, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to blow Seattle out. So, yeah, I'll go under for the total, Dallas to cover.
Yeah.
See, no Dak slander either.
Well, it's kind of hard to slander him recently, at least. I think he made some great points there. Seattle's lost 3 of their last 4. Geno's elbow is, I think, a big key to that. They got crushed by the Ravens and the 49ers, 2 elite teams. I guess there's a little bit of shame in that to get crushed. They got embarrassed by them. They also lost to the Rams in a close game, and the only win of the last 4 was against the Washington Commanders. Meanwhile, Dallas has won 5 of their last 6. Their loss to Philadelphia, again, nothing bad, no shame in that. But their best wins have come against the 2 Los Angeles teams, which are But as I've just pointed out, the Seattle lost to the Rams. Dallas did not. Another note, Dallas has scored 40 points or more in 3 of those 6 games. I think both of these teams, contrary to what I originally believed until I started looking a little bit deeper, have pretty much shown who they are. The Seahawks, to me, are a middling team that should beat all the weak teams and then lose the good ones, withstanding the Detroit game, of course, which was back in week 2. And then the Cowboys who run bad teams off the field and then struggle versus elites. Seattle's not elite. So I have the Cowboys minus the 9.5. I feel pretty confident about that. But what I feel even better about is I expect Dallas to put up over 30, which to me will make it an over game. So I have over and I have Dallas minus 9. I'm probably going to do a little parlay with that one.
Are you ready to step up your style without compromising the planet? Introducing the exciting partnership between BlueView Footwear and the 19 Media Group Network. Just visit bit.ly/BlueView19 to start your sustainable style journey. Our friends over at BlueView Footwear are renowned for introducing the world's first fully biodegradable sneaker. By using plant-based plastics, they are leading a revolution in cleaner materials and manufacturing. They have sleek and contemporary styles that cater to a wide range of tastes. BlueView Footwear believes that fashion and sustainability can coexist harmoniously. Explore their incredible collection of eco-friendly footwear by visiting bit.ly/BlueView19. If you let us know you made a purchase, we'll shout you out on our next show. Again, just visit bit.ly/BlueView19 today, and you'll see the ultimate collaboration of fashion, sustainability, and media excellence.
All right, let's move on to the marquee matchup on Sunday. That will be the 8-3 San Francisco 49ers heading to Philadelphia to face the 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles. Vegas has the projections to be also 46.5 points, and San Francisco 3-point favorites. That means that Vegas is saying that the 49ers will travel to Philadelphia and win 24 3/4 to 21 3/4. As far as injuries, and maybe this is the reason the spread is what it is, San Francisco comes in pretty healthy. Offensive lineman Spencer Buford has an ankle injury. He did not play last week. He is questionable for this week. But meanwhile, Philadelphia, Dallas Goedert is questionable. He fractured his forearm in week 9. He hasn't played since. Lane Johnson is questionable, their star offensive lineman. And on the defensive side, both defensive tackles are questionable, Jordan Davis and Fletcher Cox, as is starting linebacker Zach Cunningham. Mike Steph, what do you think about this game?
Well, this is funny because I should have been looking forward to this game since the beginning of the season because I was very vocal on how Philly lucked out last year in the NFC Championship game, and they tooted out there, which got stuck out their chest like they beat somebody when they beat a quarterbackless team. You know, remember this was the game which Brock Purdy injured his arm. Then Josh Johnson came in and they knocked Josh Johnson out. And by the end of the game, you had Christian McCaffrey, pretty much Christian McCaffrey right, Christian McCaffrey left, Christian McCaffrey trying to attempt to throw. It was just a whole mess. But with all that being said, the 49ers are definitely looking to avenge their loss in that NFC Championship game. The scene of the crime, if you will. When healthy, they're definitely on Philly's level, and some would say maybe above Philly's level, because that 3-game blip, that three game losing streak, coincidentally was when they were missing wide receivers, they were missing linemen, they were just all banged up whatsoever. I mean, all together. Now, the Eagles, had yet another come from behind victory this past week, this time overcoming yet another double-digit deficit against the Buffalo Bills in overtime. And as much as I like to say otherwise, I tell you the truth, I really don't agree with the fact that Philly is the home underdog in this matchup. I know, go figure, Mr. Philly slander. But I feel like, and I can't believe I'm saying all this, you need to put some respect on Philadelphia's name. They're 10-1. They're consistently finding ways to win. They were dead to rights last week against Buffalo. I caught the second half of that game, and the first half they were putrid. Buffalo had their number, and yet they kept on coming up with clutch play after clutch play after clutch play, and they ultimately pulled it out, even with the injuries that my partner just expertly listed out. So this is, tell you the truth, if you think about it this way, look at it this way. And there's a reason why I'm wearing the jet paraphernalia. And that's the last thing. That's the only time that I'm going to utter their words on this episode, because they don't exist right now. Philadelphia is one interception and a non-contested touchdown away from being undefeated for this season. Think about that. A third down interception late in the fourth quarter from being undefeated. Yet they're -3 at home. So, with all that being said, and like I said, this should be the KOM, I'm going to actually go with Philly against the spread. So, +3. And if I'm going to do that, Philly to win. Now, the over-under, I think it's going to be under, because I just feel that it's going to be a nip-and-tuck battle. I could say 23-20 Philly. Maybe it's a piece of reverse psychology, because I really don't want Philly to win. But I think when all is said and done, they believe in themselves to the point of they're pretty much making the impossible possible. So yeah, that's my pick.
Again, I love your points. San Francisco had lost 3 straight before the bye. Since then, they've won 3 straight, and they've looked dominant in those 3 wins. They crushed the Jags 34-3, and then beat Tampa and Seattle as well. But Philadelphia is undefeated in their last 5, and included in their wins are the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Bills. That's quite a gauntlet to go through. When I look at the betting line, and like I said, the injuries do make it questionable. Like, I kind of see why they would say San Francisco is a favorite, but like you said, the 3-point favorite on the road just seems like too much to me. I'm looking at this more as a bettor than I would as a person who just looks at the games, because I think if you played this game 100 times, one team would win maybe 53, 54, 55 of the games. I think it's pretty close. But as a bettor, I just can't understand the road team being 3 points favorites when Philly has looked so good, at least as far as winning games. Even when they've struggled, they've found a way to win. So I'm with you. I'm going with Philadelphia because of the 3 points. And honestly, if Philadelphia's 3-point favorites, I might go the other way. And also, like you, I'm going with the under, just because I think that this game is just going to be, like you said, really tight and might come down to a last minute field goal.
Josh Elliott, 59-yard field goal in the rain with the win to put them in overtime. That was clutch. I was like, wow.
Yeah, and then
bravo.
You know who was watching them with envy? The Texans and the Patriots, because what were their kickers doing?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Ricky from Late Night Lake Show. A new NBA season has arrived, and there's no better time to be following the brand. From weekly podcasts and live streams featuring some of the biggest names in the NBA social world to viral Twitter spaces and engaging articles. If you bleed purple and gold and love good content, the Late Night Lake Show is the brand for you. Follow us on Twitter at Late Night Lakers and on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or wherever you get your podcast at Late Night Lake Show. It's premium Lakers content brought to you by some of your favorite and best personalities in Laker Nation. It's about to be another crazy season this year, but one thing is for certain. If it's happening and involving our Los Angeles Lakers, Late Night Lake Show is going to be covering. So come check us out. We'll see y'all on the timeline. Peace.
Before we shift over to the Monday night game, just real quick, do you have, I'll talk about Survivor some and other games of interest. Do you have any games that are catching your eye in particular?
There's one in particular, I believe I feel like there's playoff implications, which is the Denver Broncos, the red hot Denver Broncos visiting the equally hot Houston Texans. In a battle of teams tied at 6-5 and pretty much probably battling for that seventh and final wild card slot in the AFC. The Texans, as I think we might have just mentioned, they lost a very close battle with Jacksonville this past week. And the Broncos, shoot, they won 4 in a row, 5 in a row, something like that. But they're coming off back-to-back wins against Cleveland, albeit without their starting quarterback, and actually at this point in time, they knocked out their backup quarterback, and the Buffalo Bills. But still, those are two teams that are in front of them. They're two teams that they've been battling for playoff positioning, and they did the damn thing. And begrudgingly, Sean Payton got this team in prime position. So to me, that's the real game besides the ones that we already spoke about that I got my eye on.
All right. I have 2 games that I'm keeping my eye on, and then I'll get back to Survivor in a second. I'm really curious about this Kansas City Green Bay game. Kansas City 6.5 favorite, and they should be. But I'm curious to see how Green Bay plays in this game. Jordan Love has looked a lot better the last couple of weeks than he had the weeks prior, and the whole Green Bay team is looking a lot better. So I want to see if they can at least keep this competitive. If they can, I don't think I want to face Green Bay down the stretch. Another game that interested me for a whole nother reason is the Chargers going to New England. That's the hot seat bowl, isn't it not? Because Chargers coach should already be fired. But if the Chargers beat the Patriots and the Patriots lose again, personally, I think Belichick should be able to keep his job as long as he wants to keep it. But I think there are going to be more and more people on the opposite side of that. And I can't blame them. Do you have any interest in those 2 games?
The Chargers and the Patriots, I don't think that's going to be a good game at all. But at the same time, and I think I said this at the very beginning of the season, I want the Chargers to lose as many games as possible for Staley to be shown the door. Because they've been saying this in the media, so I'm glad they're getting on board. The fact that what's more egregious about his performance is the fact he's a defensive coach and their defense is trash. So if you're a defensive minded coach and that's your preferred side of the ball, and that side of the ball is trash, then what do we need you for? You know, you're stunning the development of Herbert. You see him starting to regress. And I believe that's going to be the impetus for them to make a move ultimately this offseason. They're 4-7. And tell you the truth, if it wasn't a lucky interception against Minnesota and playing these dudes right here, they have all rights to be 2-9. So
I'm with you. The Chargers are unbelievable. All right, real quick, Survivor. I think Miami and Dallas are obvious plays if you still have them. If not, this Monday night game that we're about to get to, Jacksonville looks like a safe choice. Yeah, and then after that, if you might be stuck, I guess Tampa Bay over Carolina. Just think Carolina's going to keep losing. I don't know. The coach change, maybe it shocks their system. I wouldn't want to pick that game, but if I'm desperate, maybe.
Yeah, Tampa's schizophrenic himself, but at the same time, they're still in the race at 4-7. They're still in the hunt for the playoffs, believe it or not.
And I forgot to mention that Baker Mayfield was banged up. From what I heard, I think he's going to play this week, but he may not be 100%.
I don't think he's been 100% since he came out of Oklahoma.
Moving along. Finally, the Monday night game of the week. The Cincinnati Bengals are heading to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. Cincinnati is 5-6. Jacksonville is 8-3. Jacksonville is also 8-point favorites with a total expected to be 38.5 points. That means that Vegas is saying the Bengals will score 15 1/4 points, while the Jaguars score 23 1/4 points. As far as injuries, for Cincinnati, T. Higgins has missed 3 straight games with a hamstring pull. He is questionable. Of course, the biggest injury is that Joe Burrow is out for the season. He just had successful wrist surgery with Jake Browning taking over for him. On the defensive side, Logan Wilson, linebacker, has an ankle injury, and cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt has a quad injury. Both of them are questionable. On Jacksonville's side, they're pretty healthy, but corner Tyson Campbell is questionable with a hamstring injury. He's actually missed the last 4 games. Mike Steph, is there any competition in this game at all?
Unfortunately not. The Bengals, in my opinion, they're finished. Like, once Joe Burrow went down for the season, it's been a wrap in my mind. Like, all the weapons that they have no one to pull the trigger and take advantage of them anymore. That showing this past week was just very, very frustrating. Can Joe Burrow really catch a break at actually having a fully healthy season? He's haven't had a fully healthy season since he's been in the NFL. So imagine what he could do. And he was just starting to, catch his stride, so to speak. Jags, I have no respect for them whatsoever. But they're 8-3. The Jags have won 7 of the last 8, which is impressive. Especially with the lack of home field advantage. Well, at least the home field advantage in Jacksonville. We're not talking about the ones over across the pond that kind of actually jump-started this season, to tell you the truth. They went across the pond, and they must have got some of that the HGA. Anyway, so they got something over the pond. Maybe they visited Amsterdam. I don't know. But the only blemish in the last 8 games was against the 49ers, which, to tell you the truth, might have been a window over what kind of team they actually are. Because when they took a step up in competition, they couldn't stay on the same field, but that's neither here nor there. Jacksonville, that -8. This is my bias. I can't in my, my better judgment, have Jacksonville covering that spread. So I'm going to go Bengals against the spread, Jacksonville to actually win the game, and that over under, I'll go under.
All right. Yeah, so Jake Browning for the Bengals started last week. He was 19 for 26, 227 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Nothing stood out there. It was against Pittsburgh, so tough, grinded up defense. But I don't know if I necessarily expect him to do more against the Jags. Meanwhile, as you pointed out, the Jags have won 7 of their last 8. They're looking pretty strong right now. I don't expect the Bengals to score much, and I expect the Jaguars will be able to put up points. Maybe not a whole lot, but enough to cover the 8 points in my mind. As far as the over-under, I really don't like it. I won't be betting that at all. If you force me to pick something, which I guess on the show we kind of do force each other to pick something, I'll go with the under. I just don't think the Bengals are going to score much at all. So I think if the Jags put up over 20, you can get the 8 points and still get the under. All right, Mike Steph, we are done. Take us home.
Okay, I swear I had a witty, outro in my mind, but I'll mess it up. So being the fact that we got to take care of some business, I'll get right to it. This week's edition of Hidden Gem Football has been a part of the 19 Media Group. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, folks. And never pick the Patriots again.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
And hopefully around Christmas time when we do these episodes, I have my son sit down because my son's been hitting more than I have. And he'll call me for advice because he's like, Dad, you're the one with the football show. And I'm like, yeah, but your dad has the worst luck. Look in my eyes. What do you see? The media group of 19. See, I said it when we already signed out. I just had a feeling I was going to mess that up. So I was like, you know what? Let me get the outro done.